South Korea's intel agency assigns odds to North Korea conducting its 7th nuclear test after the U.S. presidential election in November, rather than before voting, as the regime apparently aims to escalate tensions around that time. A presidential committee on artificial intelligence was launched today, which will encompass the private sector and act as the nation's control tower on AI policy. We take a closer look at why it's needed and what role is expected. New visas will be created to encourage talented foreign students entering South Korea to seek jobs, particularly in the AI and aerospace sectors. It's September 26, 6 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. We begin with fresh speculation about North Korea's potential nuclear test in the near future. The National Intelligence Service says the regime could carry out the 7th test after the November election in the U.S. rather than before, and possesses materials enough to produce a number of nuclear weapons. Lee Soo-jin explains.
North Korea's 7th nuclear test may take place after the U.S. presidential election in November rather than before. South Korea's National Intelligence Service said in a National Assembly Intelligence Committee meeting on Thursday that there is a possibility that the test will happen after, as Pyongyang has other methods of military provocation, such as intercontinental ballistic missiles and satellite launches. The North has carried out 6 nuclear tests since the first one in October 2006, with the last one taking place in September 2017. According to the NIS, North Korea currently possesses around 70 kilograms of plutonium, as well as a significant amount of highly enriched uranium, enough to produce at least a double-digit number of nuclear weapons. As for North Korea revealing its uranium enrichment facility for the first time earlier this month, lawmakers Lee Sung-kwon and Park Sun-won, who attended the meeting, said that the NIS assessed that it was a show of defiance ahead of the U.S. election, as well as to boost domestic morale with the demonstration of its military achievements amid worsening economic conditions. On September 13th, photos were released by the state-run Korean Central News Agency that showed leader Kim Jong-un walking past rows of centrifuges that process uranium to be made into nuclear fuel, learning about the operation of its production lines. During the visit, Kim also emphasized the need to strengthen Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities. The NIS said that the facility is likely to be located in Gangseon, just outside of the capital Pyongyang, and said that it is closely monitoring the uranium enrichment site in Yongbyon. And the North's test launch of 2 different tactical ballistic missiles last week, one with a super-large conventional warhead and another with a strategic cruise missile, was to verify its precision strike capability. The NIS confirmed that 1 out of the 2 missiles fired reached the target, a slight improvement compared to past tests, which also signals a growing security threat to South Korea. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
In 1974, an agreement was signed between South Korea and Japan for joint development of an underwater continental shelf believed to hold mass deposits of oil and natural resources, but talks have stalled. Tomorrow, the 2 sides will be holding talks on this issue in Tokyo for the first time in nearly 40 years. Our foreign affairs correspondent Bae Yoon-ji has the details.
The Joint Development Zone is an area that has been at the center of maritime disputes between South Korea and Japan. Located south of Jeju Island, it's about 124 times the size of Seoul and lies in the waters between the 2 countries. A treaty was signed back in 1974 to designate the zone as a shared area for petroleum and natural gas exploration, based on analysis suggesting that the underwater continental shelf may hold a significant amount of oil and other minerals. Under the agreement, exploration and development require both nations' consent. But little development has been made in this area, as Japan made little effort to engage in joint exploration. Talks on the agreement have been suspended since 1985, with Japan having been lukewarm about moving forward with the pact. But for the first time in nearly 40 years, officials from the 2 countries are set to hold working-level talks on the issue in Tokyo on Friday. It will be led by Hwang Jun-sik, Director General for International Legal Affairs from South Korea's Foreign Ministry, and Akihiro Okuchi, Deputy Director General for Asian and Oceanian Affairs from Japan's Foreign Ministry. Some experts in South Korea believe Japan is waiting for the agreement to expire so that it can seize the area for itself. This is because changes to the international law in the early 1980s favor a midline border between the two countries, likely benefiting Japan, as the JDZ lies more than 90% inside of Japan's exclusive economic zone, weakening South Korea's claims to the area. The JDZ agreement is set to expire in 2028, and either of the two countries can confirm their intention to terminate the pact, starting June next year. But Seoul's foreign ministry claims even after the expiration of the agreement, neither South Korea nor Japan will have the right to develop the region without joint consent, as the area will be left as an undelimited maritime area, and has been urging Japan to pursue joint exploration. 배은지, Arirang News.
In other news, President Yoon Suk-yeol has launched an AI committee that includes government officials and industry experts to frame out the nation's AI policies and vision as the country injects billions in hopes of becoming a major AI powerhouse. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young has this report.
South Korea will spend around $49 billion to develop artificial intelligence, aiming to become one of the top 3 nations leading in the technology by 2027. On Thursday, President Yoon Suk-yeol launched the new Committee on AI as the central body to establish policies to nurture the technology and set out a national vision. Speaking at the very venue where Go champion Lee Se-dol and the AI AlphaGo played their historic match 8 years ago, Yoon said AI is now shaping a nation's capabilities and growth and has become the very essence of economic security.
이러한 변화를 앞에서 선도하느냐, 뒤에서 따라가느냐에 따라서 나라의 미래와 운명이 갈리게 될 것입니다. 저는 오늘 국민 여러분께 대한민국이 AI 분야에서 세계 3대 강국으로 도약한다는 이런 원대한 비전과 함께 이를 이루어 나가기 위한 국가 총력전을 선포합니다.
Chaired by the President, the committee consists of senior government officials and 30 experts in AI from the private sector.
국가인공지능위원회는 범국가적 혁신 역량을 하나로 모으는 민관 협력의 구심점입니다. 나라의 미래 명운에 걸린 AI 전환을 선두에서 이끌며 우리나라를 AI 3대 강국으로 도약시키는 견인차가 될 것입니다.
As the global race to master the technology continues to intensify, Yoon's office said Seoul will inject 65 trillion won, or $48.9 billion, into becoming a leading AI power. The President also announced plans to establish a national AI computing center as the key body to drive research and development and accelerate transformation across industries. Amid competition, he further stressed the need for global cooperation to address the misuse of AI technology that could violate national security and breach individual safety and privacy.
AI의 급속한 발전과 함께 많은 부작용도 발생하고 있습니다. AI 기술로 생산된 가짜 뉴스들이 우리의 민주주의를 위협하고 최근에는 딥페이크 기술을 악용해서 인권을 침해하는 사례들이 빈번하게 일어나고 있습니다. 디지털 격차가 확대되면서 공정하고 균형 있는 정보 접근이 중요해졌습니다. 우리 정부는 이러한 문제들을 국제사회와 연대해서 풀어나가기 위해 글로벌 리더십을 발휘하고 있습니다.
Since taking office in 2022, President Yoon declared a new digital order for global citizens and elaborated on his vision through speeches at the World Economic Forum, Harvard University, Sorbonne University in Paris, and the UN General Assembly last year. His secretary for AI and Digital told Arirang News, Seoul has emphasized 3 critical principles: safety, innovation, and inclusivity.
Our government is dedicated to playing a leading role on the global stage, sharing the benefits of AI advancements while ensuring that these technologies are developed with humanistic values and inclusiveness at their core.
To create a national framework, the presidential office says The government will aim to pass a basic law on AI this year and establish an AI safety institute.
Looking 30 years ahead, the president pledged efforts to design and achieve an AI-driven future by strengthening innovation policies and by removing regulatory barriers in order to maximize the benefits brought by the technology. 오수영, Arirang News.
At the National Assembly, lawmakers will soon vote on dozens of bills that often deeply affect people's lives. Key items on the agenda are measures to prevent further deepfake sex crimes and to help working parents take care of their children. For more, we have our political correspondent Lee Si-hu standing by at the Assembly. Si-hu, what is the latest?
Right, Jung-min, lawmakers will soon hammer out new pieces of legislation that will hopefully put a stop to the deepfake sex crimes crisis that's been tearing across the country in recent months. Tonight, the proposed pieces of legislation outline the criminal penalty for the perpetrators of such crimes who knowingly possess and consume products of this sexual violence that use victims' pictures to create fake, explicit images and videos. The proposals tonight lay out a prison sentence of up to 3 years and around a 30 million Korean won in fine, around $23,000. Furthermore, lawmakers are seeking to impose additional penalties on those who threaten victims who are minors using deepfake-generated content. These will likely pass with bipartisan approval as the rival blocs agree on the need for better prevention measures against the crimes, and have worked together during the review process at smaller meetings over the past few weeks.
And another anticipated bill that extends the period of child care leave is also on the way.
That is correct. Changes to the Equal Employment Opportunities and Work Families Balance Act will also be reviewed in the coming hours. These aim to extend the period of child care leave from the current 2 years for both parents combined to 3, and post-birth paternity leave from the current 10 days to 20. The bipartisan consensus is already in on this as South Korea prioritizes overcoming its low birth rate issue. Now, the meeting tonight is continuing later than usual, with the rival parties clashing over several opposition-led bills that have been tabled for a revote, leading to a meeting to stop for a while. But we should be able to see the voting result coming out soon, which I will update you on in a later newscast. Jung-min.
That was our Lee Si-hu reporting live from the National Assembly. Thank you. New visa plans have been announced to attract more overseas talent in cutting-edge technologies industries such as AI and aerospace sectors as part of the Korean government's new immigration policy. Shin Ha-young explains in detail.
Amid the country's low birth rate and aging population, the government is rolling up its sleeves to get ready for a future where the foreign resident population is expected to reach 3 million. The Ministry of Justice announced a new plan on Thursday to attract overseas talent in advanced industries, which includes introducing a so-called top-tier visa.
A top-tier visa will be created to attract top-skilled personnel in advanced fields such as the AI, quantum computing, and aerospace sectors. It will make it more convenient for these individuals and their families both in the immigration process and throughout their stay, boosting the country's ability to attract talent and encouraging them to settle here.
Support for international students in finding jobs and settling in South Korea will also be strengthened. The ministry plans to extend the period for job seeking and internships after graduation, as well as expand job opportunities to include non-professional fields. The government also decided to introduce a so-called Ustream in Korea visa for young people from countries that supported South Korea during the Korean War, as well as key economic partners, offering them job opportunities. The plan also includes improving the visa system and implementing tailored immigration policies to support regions in South Korea that are facing significant population decline. According to the ministry, there are currently 2.61 million foreign residents in South Korea, which is about 5% of the population. The government expects the new plan to bring in over 100,000 additional skilled workers in key industries within 5 years. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
South Korea is forecast to suffer yet another massive tax revenue shortfall this year, amounting to almost 30 trillion Korean won, or more than $22 billion. According to the Finance Ministry, the government is projected to collect around 337 trillion Korean won in taxes this year, falling short of this year's planned budgetary spending by 29.6 trillion won. This marks the second consecutive year of a massive tax revenue, a shortfall following last year's record high 56.4 trillion won. The ministry cited reduced corporate tax due to last year's weak global trade and sluggish semiconductor industry as reasons behind the shortfall. In response, the government plans to utilize surplus or unused funds from public reserves. In the Middle East, Israel has hinted at a potential ground offensive into Lebanon amid its intensifying conflict with Hezbollah. Kim Jong-sil has the latest.
Israel's top general said on Wednesday that the military is preparing for a potential ground incursion into Lebanon. According to a military press release, Lieutenant General Herzi Halevi told troops on the northern border that Israel's ongoing airstrikes are intended to prepare the ground for a possible entry and to continue degrading Hezbollah. However, the U.S. Pentagon said on Wednesday that any potential ground invasion did not appear imminent. Israeli airstrikes have already led to over 600 deaths in Lebanon this week, with Lebanese health officials reporting that casualties include women and children. Hezbollah, meanwhile, has intensified its attacks, including firing a ballistic missile at Tel Aviv on Wednesday. The militant group said it was targeting the headquarters of Israel's intelligence service, Mossad.
This is the first time in history that Hezbollah terrorists have fired at the city of Tel Aviv. Thank God the missile was successfully intercepted. Immediately following the missile attack, the launcher in southern Lebanon was struck and destroyed.
The Israeli military's extensive air raids on Wednesday targeted more than 280 Hezbollah targets across Lebanon. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Israel will not rest until residents return home, referring to people who fled from northern Israel due to Hezbollah attacks. According to the Lebanese Health Ministry, Wednesday's Israeli airstrikes have killed at least 81 people and injured over 400 others. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres urged for the fighting to stop.
Hell is breaking loose in Lebanon. As I told the General Assembly yesterday, we should all be alarmed by the escalation. Lebanon is at the brink.
The UN chief added that the world cannot afford Lebanon to become another Gaza and that an all-out war must be avoided at all costs. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Japan began releasing wastewater from the destroyed Fukushima nuclear power plant into the ocean from Thursday, its 9th overall release so far. About 7,800 tons will be released, similar to previous amounts until October 13th. Tokyo Electric Power Company has discharged over 62,000 tons of the water off the coast of Fukushima Prefecture on 8 occasions beginning August last year. Online shoppers here in Korea are increasingly resorting to cheaper overseas options, namely from China, because of a price burden. But the issue of product safety has recently emerged, prompting response measures from the authorities. This week, we take a closer look at this issue, and for more, our trade correspondent Moon Hye-ryun joins us in the studio. Hye-ryun, just how popular are Chinese online shopping platforms?
Well, Changmin, Chinese online shopping platforms, also known as e-commerce, have been on the rise for some time now. A recent study from the Federation of Korean Industries reveals that South Korean consumers spent approximately 3.3 trillion won, approximately $2.5 billion on e-commerce last year. This marks a significant shift as the US had previously held the largest share of overseas e-commerce purchases by South Korean consumers. Chinese platforms like AliExpress and Temu have climbed the ranks of the most popular e-commerce platforms in South Korea, with AliExpress now ranking second in terms of monthly active users. I went to see the overall process from how products are selected for testing to how consumers are responding to safety test results, so let's take a look. Overseas online shopping is keeping these computers busy. Not with receiving orders, but with complaints and concerns from buyers. This is the Seoul Electronic Commerce Center, where reports from South Korean consumers buying items on Chinese platforms like Temu and AliExpress are surging, not just due to increased usage, but also growing safety concerns.
We have a lot of cases where people read press releases about hazardous substances being detected and then contact us directly.
Government press releases have alerted buyers about hazardous substances found in products from these sites, leading to a wave of inquiries. This is part of an initiative started in April to provide safety information on products sold on Chinese e-commerce sites, with various ministries and the Seoul local government testing different goods. The Seoul Metropolitan Government tests a range of different products, including children's goods. Phthalate is a chemical harmful to organs and child development. These boots contain more than 680 times the allowed phthalate levels for children's products. About 15 products are tested weekly based on trends like bikes and roller skates. The KCL lab, in partnership with the Seoul government, tests items in direct contact with children like bike seats. Materials are cut, liquefied and analyzed using a spectrometer to determine their composition. Results are published online with weekly updates from the Seoul government and a recent 5-month report from the Ministry of Environment. 1 in 10 items from Chinese e-commerce sites have been found to fail safety standards, and unsafe products are removed from sale.
We send official requests to these platforms asking sellers of hazardous products to be shut down, and they respond by taking said items off their site as soon as possible.
South Korea is an important market for Chinese online shopping platforms, which is why they have so far been cooperative with these requests.
Hey, Dan, are there concerns with regard to the current system you've just shown us?
So conducting tests and reporting results is by no means a long-term sustainable solution when considering time cost effectiveness. It's impossible to test every single item being sold on overseas online platforms or every single purchase made that comes through customs. Enforcing safety checks on overseas sellers or barring consumers from overseas platforms altogether isn't a viable solution either. So the government is hoping to raise awareness so consumers can make informed decisions. Here's what an expert said.
It's important that consumers themselves make the effort to avoid buying products that are dangerous.
Going forward, experts say the government's goal of alerting domestic buyers to safety precautions when using overseas online shopping platforms could be more widely achieved by utilizing other methods such as social media.
All right, Hye-ryun, thanks for your report today.
And thank you for having me.
The sun shined through the clouds today and the late heat continued. It is hotter than usual, but the humidity is low, so it didn't feel too hot. Tomorrow it will be mostly sunny in inland areas. However, it will rain in eastern parts of Gangwon-do province from the morning, and showers will pass in Gyeongsangbuk-do province at one point in the afternoon. On Saturday, the rain will expand to the east coast. Between tomorrow and Saturday, eastern parts of Gangwon-do province will receive more than 100 millimeters of autumn rainfall. Tomorrow morning, the temperature will be 19 degrees in Seoul and Gwangju and 22 degrees in Busan, which is similar to or slightly lower than today's temperature, so it will be cool in the morning. Highs will move up to 27 in Seoul, Chuncheon, Daejeon, Gwangju, and Jeju. The late heat is expected to break next Tuesday with rain accompanied by cold air in the center and northern parts of Jeju Island. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. And that is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.